Haya, hebu tusalimiane kwa hewa hivi. Walimu oye! Walimu oye! So first of all, Your Excellency, let me also take this opportunity to acknowledge the senior government officials that have accompanied you to this important forum. And may I just ask that you be upstanding. I can see my friend Mwalimu Indimuli. Chief, can we just wave to the teachers? Walimu, let's wave back to these senior government officials. Asanteni sana, you may take your seats. Your Excellency, today I'm a very proud individual that in a long time we get an opportunity to have an engagement and conversation with the teachers of this great nation. And just like everybody has said, the teachers do a lot of hard work. They do a good job. Because without the teachers, we probably would not have the country in the way it is. And each of us has passed through the hands of the teachers that I see here, and many other teachers across the country. And for that, I must commend you for the wisdom and the decision that you took to come and engage the teachers. And also the courtesy you extended to me to accompany you to have a conversation with these teachers. So first of all, allow me to speak to matters that are related to the issues under my docket, which is internal security and national administration. Some of the speakers here spoke to a number of issues. One of them is a challenge of insecurity, not just in Malava, but in the broader county of Kakamega, and by extension, I would say Western region. If you may remember, is that since President Ruto came into office, as a country, we have fairly had a very secure nation. And this is largely courtesy of his initiatives to try and address the gap that was there in the security sector. And we continue to institute and undertake a number of security reforms. There's a challenge within the police service in terms of movement and mobility. I know even in this particular sub-county, we only have one vehicle that is being shared across by our officers. I just want to give the commitment that in the next 2 weeks, we will get an extra vehicle as we work on the broader leasing program for the vehicles that is supposed to support our police officers and other government officers. Number two, I was looking at what is captured in the report by the sub-county or the county director of education, is that in the education sector, there is only one case that has been reported as a sexual offense case. And the PS Bitok has spoken about the policy within the Ministry of Education. I'm looking forward to a day when we do not have any such cases. And even where there are cases, I would want to encourage and challenge the teachers to work closely with government officers as well as parents so that classroom or the school environment becomes an environment that is meant to nurture the next generation of citizens who are responsible, who have been given the best, so that our schools do not become a breeding ground for bringing up criminals or for exposing our children to acts that would endanger their progress. Number three, again, looking at that report, and it speaks to the gap that exists in the student-teacher ratio. At the primary level, it's 1 to 34. At the JSS level, it is 1 to, I think, around 40. And then at the secondary level, it's 1 to 32. but universally acceptable ratio should be 1 to 25. And when you think about it, that we are yet to achieve that universal ratio, despite the massive investment that President Ruto has put in place, it speaks to a big gap that has existed progressively over many years. 76,000 teachers hired in a record 2 years, another 20,000 by the end of this year, will help us bridge the gap and move towards achieving that universal coverage and access for our students. Because our education must be accessible, it must be affordable, and it also has to be quality education. We are addressing issues on quality, we are addressing issues on access, the same way we are also addressing issues on affordability. And the Ministry of Education, I was talking to the PS, has even heeded to that demand to make education affordable by reviewing the school fees going forward. And it's important that we applaud and appreciate the government for those measures. Now, I want to speak to you as a fellow professional. And I've listened to a lot of the issues that you have raised. And with your indulgence, Your Excellency, these are people who have gone to school. These are graduates. These are people who are meant to make a difference in this country. And at times, it's important that we take time to take stock of where we were as a country, where we are today, and where we are going tomorrow. I know there are concerns around the pay for the teachers. There are concerns about infrastructure for our learning institutions. And there are concerns even on issues to do with healthcare. Now, what have we done to address some of these concerns? In terms of access, we have hired more teachers and we continue to hire more teachers so that our learners can have the best experience. On infrastructure, the PSB talk has talked of the number of classrooms that have been built, 23,000 in the last 2 years. In this sub-county alone, in the last financial year, there was 87.5 million that the government released towards the development and improvement of some of this infrastructure. And we are not stopping there. And if you look at the budget for this financial year, the biggest allocation has been put to the education sector. And what does that tell you? That for the first time in the history of this country, you have a president, you have a government, you have an administration that takes matters education seriously. And these are not just stories. These are things that if you look around, you can be able to see. They are demonstrable progress. And that is why when we are in a forum like this, it's an opportunity for us to speak to you and tell you what the government is doing on matters education. So that when you go back to the villages, when you go back to the homes, when you go back to the schools, you can be able to speak about what this administration is doing. So that when people say that there is nothing that has happened in this country, specifically on matters education, you have something to say about it. There are concerns about health, and for sure, we need to address the pain that the teachers are going through in terms of access to healthcare. I know there is an ongoing conversation with the Teacher Service Commission, just like we are having a conversation with the National Police Service, as well as the public service, so that we have a comprehensive healthcare that allows those who work on behalf of the government, whether as teachers or as police officers or as chiefs and assistant chiefs, that we give these officers the best healthcare. But as we do that, we cannot leave the rest of the country. And that is why we are implementing the universal health care. And today, over 25 million Kenyans are enrolled on the Social Health Authority platform for access to universal health care. And it appears painful, particularly for those who have pay slips, like you and myself. But let's look at the bigger picture. Before, only 5 million Kenyans were accessing healthcare through NHIF platform. And what it meant is that in each and every WhatsApp forum that you're invited to, you are being asked to contribute money to pay medical bills. Tuko na mtu wetu amekwama kwa hospitali, ama tuko na mgonjwa hatuwezi kumpeleka kwa hospitali kwa sababu hatuna pesa. What this administration is doing is to address that gap. And 10 months down the line from the point we started the rollout of universal healthcare, and if we are being very honest to each other, you will agree that if there is any WhatsApp group that you've been added to contribute, more often than not, it will be about someone who has died who needs to be buried. We are having less and less of cases of being asked to contribute 5,000, to contribute 10,000. And we must look ourselves not in isolation. We have the advantage that we have at least a job, each of us. There are many Kenyans who don't have a job, and we must carry them along. Now, what is the government also doing to address the gap of those who don't have jobs? For the first time, this administration has a very deliberate program on job creation. There's a conversation about the housing levy, which is meant to help us build affordable and social houses. And I would want you to look at this not just as houses for people to live in. And for someone who probably is teaching or is living in Kabras, you may not have the challenge of housing. But you have 6 to 7 million Kenyans who live in informal settlements, who don't have a toilet, who don't have water, who don't have electricity. And the number is growing. So, just give me a minute to explain myself. What this is going to do is that it is not just going to give dignity to those who need decent housing, but we are also going to create jobs with this program. How are we creating jobs? Today, as a teacher in Malava, uko na kijana anafanya engineering kwa university. Uko na kijana who is an architect. Uko na kijana ama msichana who is an interior designer. And for every one house that we build, we are creating 3 to 5 jobs. We'll get opportunity for those who are plumbers, for electricians, for masons, for interior designers, even for accountants. In that entire ecosystem, there are doors to be made, there are windows to be made. Those become completely new ecosystem for creating more jobs. And what do we achieve with this? We will increase the number of those who are pay slip carriers, initially from 3 million to 6 million, so that the pressure on a few people, a few of us in this tent, carrying the load of so many people will go down. As it is today, 3 to 4 million Kenyans are carrying the weight of over 55 million Kenyans. President Ruto is opening up the country and creating an opportunity for many more people to have an opportunity to have earnings so that we share in the load of building this country. Number 4. Just carry along with me as a professional, because now we are talking as professionals. Is that as we expand the space for education, as we look out for the welfare of the teachers, I know there is a CBA that has been signed, which is contentious, and you are raising very valid concerns, and we have the commitment from the Ministry of Education to look and relook at that CBA, so that the increments that you are focusing on, we can be able to see how do we get extra allocation to be able to have teachers earn decent pay. because everyone deserves equal earning for equal work that is done. Lastly, as I finish, is that there are 3 divisions that we have given the regional commissioner the authority to operationalize this week in this sub-county. Then there are 3 locations that we have also given the authority and approval for them to be operationalized so that we can open them up for the people of this place to be hired either as chiefs or sub-chiefs. And we also have 4 sub-locations. Just for record purposes, there is Shivanga, there is Chesero, and Shilugu divisions. And then there is Nguvali, Cheroso, Shikutse locations. And then there is Bukakunga, Indukusia, Induhusia, Mukuyu, and Shivahale sub-locations. And this is part of our efforts to try and bring services closer to the people of Malava constituency and the sub-county. And we are not just doing it here alone. We are doing it across the country. Because when we came in, there was a backlog of administrative units that had been gazetted but not operationalized. Our target is that by the end of this year, we would have operationalized all these administrative units, and then we make a consideration for deserving cases. Like in this particular constituency, I know there is need for us to create additional sub-county, just like in the entire region, for better representation and access to services by the people who work in government. As I take back my seat and welcome His Excellency to come and address us, I would want to request with all humility that we be upstanding so that His Excellency, Prime Cabinet Secretary, can come and speak to us.
Yes! 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 Shake it! Watu wa Malava mapenda nini? Ruto tano tena. Watu wa Malava mataka nani? Ruto tano tena. Watu wa Malava masema nini? Ruto tano tena. Musalia Mudavadi wasema nini? Ruto tano tena. Musalia Mudavadi wasema nini? Ruto tano tena. Musalia Mudavadi wasema nini? Kila mtu afanye hivi. Ruto tano tena. Musalia Mudavadi ne hako ndani. Ruto tano tena. Ewe Ruto tano tena.